For centuries, we have believed that thought is a human trait, a gift of the brain, a spark of consciousness found only in living beings. But what if this assumption is wrong? What if intelligence is not something rare, locked inside individual minds, but a fundamental force woven into the fabric of reality itself? Science tells us that the universe follows intricate patterns, obeys precise laws, and creates complexity out of chaos, almost as if it is solving problems, adapting, and evolving. Some scientists have even found striking similarities between the structure of the universe and the human brain, raising a bold question. Is the cosmos not just a vast expanse of matter, but a kind of mind? If the universe does think, what does that mean for us? Are we independent beings, or are our thoughts simply part of a larger cosmic intelligence? And if the universe is aware in some way, does it have a purpose? Does it care? This question is more than philosophical. It challenges everything we assume about reality, consciousness, and our place in existence. If the universe is thinking, then perhaps we are not separate observers of a lifeless void. Perhaps we are tiny fragments of something far greater, pieces of a vast mind that has been pondering itself since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time, human beings have looked up at the night sky and wondered about their place in the vastness of existence. The stars, scattered like distant lanterns, have always inspired both awe and curiosity. Where do we come from? What are we a part of? These questions have shaped civilizations, given birth to religions, and driven the pursuit of science. Yet despite all our discoveries, the universe remains a deep and endless mystery. The more we learn about the cosmos, the more we realize how little we truly understand. We see galaxies stretching across unimaginable distances, planets orbiting distant suns, and forces at work that are both beautiful and terrifying. The universe is vast beyond comprehension, and yet, within its enormity, we find patterns, order, and structure. This raises a profound question. Is the universe simply a collection of lifeless matter, or is there something deeper at play? Could it have a kind of intelligence, a way of organizing itself that goes beyond randomness? One of the most fascinating ideas in modern science is the concept of emergent complexity. It suggests that simple things, when brought together in the right way, can create something far greater than their individual parts. A single grain of sand is just a tiny rock, but countless grains moved by wind and water can form dunes that shift like waves in the ocean. A single ant is nearly helpless on its own, but together, ants build intricate colonies with tunnels, bridges, and communication systems that function almost like a living brain. This idea appears everywhere in nature. Atoms come together to form molecules, which in turn create the building blocks of life. Neurons in the human brain, each one simple on its own, connect in such a way that thought, memory, and awareness emerge. What if the universe itself follows this same pattern? Could the countless stars, galaxies, and cosmic forces work together in a way that gives rise to something greater, something that resembles intelligence? These are not easy questions to answer, but they invite us to see the universe not just as a cold, empty space, but as something deeply interconnected. Perhaps the mystery is not that the universe is vast, but that within its vastness, there are signs of something more, something waiting to be understood. Thinking is one of the most mysterious abilities of life. It is something we do every day, yet we rarely stop to ask what it truly means. It is more than just remembering facts or following instructions. At its core, thinking involves problem-solving, awareness, and self-reflection. It allows us to make decisions, learn from mistakes, and imagine things that do not yet exist. But does thinking require a mind like ours? Or can it exist in other forms, perhaps even beyond living creatures? Human thought is unique in its complexity. We do not simply react to the world around us, we question it. We are aware of our own existence, our emotions, and our place in the universe. We create languages to express ideas, art to share emotions, and science to uncover hidden truths. We not only solve problems, but also reflect on them, wondering why we think the way we do. But intelligence is not limited to humans. Many animals display remarkable forms of thinking. A crow can use tools to get food, an octopus can escape from a locked container, and elephants have been observed mourning their dead. These behaviors suggest awareness and problem-solving, though they may not involve the same kind of deep self-reflection that humans experience. Beyond animals, intelligence takes even stranger forms. Artificial intelligence, built by humans, can analyze vast amounts of data, recognize patterns, and even mimic human conversation. A computer can play chess at a level no human can match, yet it does not feel joy when it wins or frustration when it loses. It processes information but does not reflect on its actions. Even in nature, we find patterns that resemble intelligence. A beehive functions as if it has a mind of its own, with each bee playing a role in a highly organized society. Trees share nutrients through underground networks, helping weaker trees survive in ways that seem almost thoughtful. The universe itself appears to follow certain rules, creating order from chaos. But does this mean it is thinking? One of the deepest questions we can ask is whether thinking requires a physical brain. Our own thoughts emerge from the billions of connections in our brains, but could a different kind of system also produce thought? Some scientists and philosophers suggest that intelligence might not need a biological form. It could arise in patterns of energy, networks of communication, or even the structure of the universe itself. If thought can exist in ways beyond what we understand, then perhaps we need to rethink what it means to be intelligent. Maybe thought is not just something that happens in a human brain, but a fundamental process of the universe, unfolding in ways we are only beginning to see. Nature is filled with remarkable patterns of organization. Even without a guiding hand, life finds ways to grow, adapt, and solve problems. From the smallest insect to the tallest tree, the natural world functions in ways that seem almost thoughtful. But does this mean that nature has a mind of its own? Or is it simply following hidden rules that create the illusion of intelligence? One of the most fascinating examples of nature's ability to solve problems can be seen in ants. A single ant is small and fragile, but together ants form colonies that act as a single living system. Without a leader or a central plan, they build tunnels, find food, and protect their nest. They adjust their strategies when obstacles appear, sending signals through chemical scents to guide one another. Their ability to respond to challenges and work as a unit suggests a form of intelligence, even though no single ant is consciously making decisions for the whole group. Trees also display a surprising form of communication. Beneath the soil, their roots connect through networks of fungi, forming an underground web that scientists have compared to a kind of forest intelligence. Trees send nutrients to one another, helping weaker trees survive. Some even release chemicals into the air to warn nearby plants of danger, such as an approaching insect threat. There is no brain controlling these actions, yet the forest behaves as if it is aware of itself in some way. These examples raise a powerful question. If intelligence does not always require a central mind, could the universe itself have a kind of intelligence? The cosmos is filled with intricate structures. Galaxies form patterns that resemble neural networks in the brain. The laws of physics create balance and order, guiding the movements of planets and stars. Even the smallest particles behave in ways that seem influenced by observation, as seen in the strange effects of quantum mechanics. But does this mean the universe is thinking? If thinking requires self-awareness, then nature may not have a mind in the way we understand it. Yet, if intelligence simply means problem-solving, adaptation, and interconnected systems, then the universe does show signs of something remarkable. It does not need a central brain to function in deeply organized ways. Perhaps the intelligence of nature is not about thoughts or feelings, but about the way things come together to create harmony. If ants, trees, and entire ecosystems can behave like thinking systems without being aware of it, then maybe the universe itself is following a similar pattern. Maybe intelligence is not just something found in minds, but something woven into existence itself. For centuries, people have looked at the Earth as something separate from life itself, a planet covered in living creatures but not alive in its own right. However, some scientists and philosophers have suggested a different way of seeing our world. The Gaia hypothesis, proposed by scientist James Lovelock, suggests that Earth behaves like a self-regulating organism. The planet is not just a passive rock floating in space, but a system that maintains conditions suitable for life. The air we breathe, the oceans that cover most of the planet, and even the temperature of the Earth have remained relatively stable over millions of years, despite changes in the sun's energy and other environmental shifts. Forests absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, the oceans balance heat and moisture, and microorganisms help recycle nutrients. These processes work together, as if the planet itself is adjusting to maintain balance. This does not mean the Earth is conscious like a human being, but it suggests that life and the environment are deeply connected in a way that resembles a living system. If the Earth can function as a self-regulating system, could the entire universe operate in a similar way? The cosmos is vast beyond imagination, filled with galaxies, stars, and unseen forces. At first glance, it may seem like a cold and lifeless expanse. But beneath the surface, there are patterns of balance and adaptation that suggest something more. The universe has gone through enormous changes since its beginning. It started as a chaotic hot explosion and gradually formed into an organized structure filled with galaxies, planets, and the conditions necessary for life. In many ways, the universe behaves like an evolving system. The laws of physics shape its structure, guiding how matter forms and moves. Stars are born, burn brightly, and then collapse, scattering elements that create new stars and planets. The very atoms in our bodies were forged in the hearts of ancient stars, suggesting that we are not separate from the universe, but deeply connected to its unfolding story. This raises an interesting question. If a biological system like Earth can regulate itself, and if life itself adapts to survive, does the universe also have a form of adaptation? In biology, intelligence is often linked to learning. A living organism learns through experience, changing its behavior to survive. Could the universe, in its own way, be learning through time? The structure of the universe has changed since its beginning. Over billions of years, galaxies have formed into more complex patterns. Matter has come together in ways that allow stars, planets, and even conscious beings to exist. Scientists study the forces that drive this evolution, but the deeper question remains: is this process simply mechanical, or is there something resembling intelligence at work? If intelligence does not always require a brain, then perhaps the universe itself is an interconnected system, constantly shaping itself in response to the forces within it. Whether this means the universe is truly alive or thinking is a question that may never have a clear answer. But what we do know is that we are part of this vast and ever-changing system, woven into the same cosmic fabric that has shaped the stars. Consciousness is one of the greatest mysteries of existence. It is the experience of being aware, of having thoughts, emotions, and a sense of self. Every human being knows what it feels like to be conscious, but no one fully understands how or why it happens. Science can explain how the brain functions, how neurons communicate, and how memories form, but it cannot explain why we experience life from the inside. Some scientists and philosophers believe that consciousness is an emergent property, This means that it arises when simpler things come together in a complex way. A single neuron in the brain is not conscious on its own, but when billions of neurons connect, something new emerges: self-awareness, imagination, and thought. In this view, consciousness is not a fundamental part of reality, but something that appears only when conditions are right, like how liquid water emerges when hydrogen and oxygen combine. Others believe that consciousness is not something that emerges from complexity, but something fundamental to reality itself. This idea, known as Panpsychism, suggests that everything in existence has some form of consciousness, no matter how small. According to this view, even the tiniest particles, electrons, atoms, or energy fields, have a basic form of awareness. They do not think like humans do, but they might have some inner experience that we cannot measure. Just as individual water molecules do not seem wet, but many together create the experience of wetness, consciousness may exist at every level of reality, becoming more complex as things come together. If consciousness is fundamental, then the universe itself could be conscious in ways we do not yet understand. The cosmos is filled with intricate patterns, from the swirling arms of galaxies to the delicate structures of living cells. It follows precise laws, creating order from chaos. Some scientists have pointed out that the structure of the universe looks remarkably similar to the neural networks of the brain. Could this similarity mean that the universe, like a brain, is thinking in some way? If we accept that the universe is conscious, what would that mean? Would it have thoughts, emotions, or intentions? Or would its consciousness be so different from ours that we cannot even imagine it? Perhaps consciousness exists on a vast spectrum, from the simplest form in particles to the complex self-awareness of human minds. The truth about consciousness remains unknown. But whether it is a rare product of the brain or woven into the fabric of reality, it invites us to see the universe in a new way, not just as a collection of stars and matter, but as something deeper, something alive with mystery. The universe is not chaotic. It follows precise and unchanging laws that govern everything from the motion of planets to the behavior of the smallest particles. These laws are written in the language of mathematics, as if the universe itself is built upon an invisible order. But why should the cosmos be so structured? Why does reality follow rules instead of existing in randomness? The laws of physics shape everything we see. Gravity pulls objects together, keeping planets in orbit and allowing galaxies to form. Electromagnetic forces control how atoms interact, making life possible. Even time moves in a consistent way, allowing the past to lead to the future in a predictable sequence. Without these laws, the universe would be nothing but scattered particles, never forming stars, planets, or life. This raises a deep question. If the universe operates with such precise mathematical laws, do these laws function like a kind of thought? Thought, in its simplest form, is the ability to organize, solve problems, and bring order to complexity. The laws of physics do exactly this. They take the raw energy of the universe and shape it into structured patterns. Galaxies swirl into spirals, atoms bond into molecules, and life emerges from matter. This suggests a system that is not random but deeply structured, as if the universe is following a plan. Some scientists argue that these laws are simply mechanical. They exist because they must, without needing intelligence behind them. In this view, the universe is like a vast machine, running on rules that do not require thought or awareness. The laws of physics may create order, but they do not think about what they are doing. They are simply there, shaping reality without purpose. Others believe that the existence of such precise laws hints at something deeper. If the universe was created by chance, why would it have rules at all? Why would numbers and equations describe reality so perfectly? Some have suggested that intelligence may not just exist within the universe, but may be part of the universe itself. If thought is the ability to bring order to chaos, then perhaps the universe, through its laws, behaves like a vast and silent intelligence. The answer remains unknown. Are the laws of physics simply mathematical patterns, or do they reveal something more, a structure that suggests purpose, intention, or even thought? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the universe is not random. It is built on a foundation of order, and within that order there is a mystery waiting to be understood. Everything in the universe can be described using information. The position of a star, the movement of an atom, even the way a tree grows, all of it can be expressed in terms of numbers, patterns, and relationships. In a sense, the universe is not just made of matter, but of information that organizes and shapes everything we see. Some physicists have suggested that information is the most fundamental aspect of reality, even more fundamental than space, time, or matter. According to this view, the universe is not just a collection of physical objects, but a vast system of information being processed, exchanged, and stored. Every particle, every wave of energy, and even the forces that guide them can be understood as units of information interacting in precise ways. One of the key ideas behind this comes from quantum physics, the study of how particles behave at the smallest levels. Scientists have discovered that particles do not seem to have definite properties until they are observed. This suggests that reality is not just a fixed physical system, but something influenced by the way information is processed. Some have even proposed that the universe itself may function like a vast computation, where reality unfolds as a result of information being processed over time. This leads to a fascinating question: does information itself resemble a form of thought? In the human brain, thought is the result of electrical signals carrying information between neurons. The more complex the information processing, the deeper and more advanced the thinking. If the universe is also an information processing system, does that mean it is thinking in some way? Some argue that information alone is not enough to be considered thought. A computer processes information, but it does not have awareness or experience. However, others suggest that if information is the foundation of reality, then what we call thought might just be a highly complex form of information processing. Perhaps the difference between a brain and the universe is not the presence of information, but the way it is structured and understood. If reality is built from information, then everything in existence, including stars, galaxies, and even human minds, may be part of a larger system of processing and understanding. Whether this means the universe itself is thinking is a question we cannot yet answer. But what is clear is that information is not just something we use to describe reality. It may be the very foundation of reality itself. The human brain is one of the most complex structures in the known universe. It is made up of billions of neurons, each connected in intricate ways to process information, create thoughts, and generate consciousness. But in recent years, scientists have discovered something surprising. The structure of the universe itself bears a striking resemblance to the structure of a brain. When we look at the universe on its largest scales, we see that galaxies are not scattered randomly. They form vast networks connected by invisible threads of dark matter and gravity, stretching across space like a cosmic web. This structure looks remarkably similar to the way neurons are connected in a brain. Both systems, one tiny and biological, the other vast and cosmic, seem to follow the same basic pattern: individual units connected by a network that allows information or energy to move between them. Some scientists have taken this similarity further, asking whether the universe functions like a brain. If galaxies are like neurons, could the universe be processing information in a way that resembles thought? In the brain, neurons send signals to one another, forming patterns of activity that create knowledge, memory, and awareness. In the universe, galaxies interact through forces like gravity and electromagnetism, influencing one another in ways we do not fully understand. Could this be a kind of cosmic intelligence, spread across billions of light years? This idea leads to an even deeper question. If the universe behaves like a brain, does it think? Thinking, as we understand it, involves processing information, making connections, and sometimes being aware of itself. While the universe follows precise physical laws, we do not yet know if it has any kind of awareness. If it does, its thoughts would be so vast and slow-moving that we, as small beings within it, might never be able to perceive them. Some scientists believe that the similarities between the brain and the universe are just coincidences. After all, patterns appear throughout nature. River systems resemble tree branches, lightning looks like the veins in a leaf. Just because two things look alike does not mean they function the same way. But others argue that these similarities could reveal something deeper about how reality works. If the universe is structured like a brain, perhaps intelligence is not just something that appears in the universe, but something that is the universe itself. Whether or not the universe truly thinks, it is clear that intelligence and complexity are not limited to human minds. From the smallest neuron to the largest galaxy, the cosmos is filled with patterns that hint at something vast, interconnected, and mysterious. And if thought itself is nothing more than the right kind of structure and process, then perhaps the universe is not just a place where minds exist. It may be a kind of mind itself. Memory is at the heart of what it means to think. Without memory, there can be no learning, no understanding, and no connection between past and future. In human minds, memory allows us to build knowledge, recall experiences, and recognize patterns. But could the universe itself have a kind of memory? Could time itself be a record of everything that has ever happened? At first, this might seem like an unusual idea. We usually think of memory as something stored in a brain, but memory in its simplest form is just the ability to preserve information. In many ways, the universe does this all the time. The light from distant stars carries the history of their past, reaching us across billions of years. Fossils in the ground hold the memory of creatures that lived long ago. Even the chemical elements in our bodies carry the history of ancient stars that exploded long before Earth existed. Everywhere we look, the past is recorded in the structure of the present. One of the most mysterious places where the universe may store information is inside black holes. A black hole is a region of space where gravity is so strong that nothing can escape, not even light. According to scientists, anything that falls into a black hole is not simply destroyed. It leaves an imprint on the black hole's surface, known as the event horizon. Some researchers believe that this imprint may act like a cosmic memory, holding information about everything that has ever fallen in. If this is true, then black holes are not just places where things disappear, but places where the universe keeps a record of its past. Another way the universe may remember is through entropy, a concept from physics that describes how energy spreads out over time. Entropy is what causes things to move from order to disorder. A hot cup of coffee cools down, a sandcastle crumbles in the wind, and over time, everything tends toward a state of greater randomness. But entropy does not erase the past, it keeps a record of it. Even when things change, traces of their previous state remain. In this way, entropy is like a vast and silent memory system, keeping track of how the universe evolves. This leads to a deeper question. Could time itself be a form of cosmic memory? Time moves forward, never backward. But why? Some scientists suggest that time's direction is linked to entropy, meaning that as the universe becomes more disordered, it is also recording the passage of events. The past does not vanish. It leaves an imprint on everything that follows. In this sense, time is not just a measure of moments passing. It is the unfolding story of the universe, with each new moment shaped by the memory of the ones before it. If the universe remembers, does that mean it learns? Learning happens when information from the past shapes the future. Stars form, live, and die, spreading new elements into space, leading to the formation of new worlds. Galaxies evolve, changing over billions of years. Even life itself is shaped by memory. DNA carries the history of countless generations, allowing organisms to adapt and survive. Perhaps intelligence does not only exist in minds, but in the very structure of reality. If If the universe stores information, preserves patterns, and builds upon what has come before, then in some way it may not just be a place where learning happens, it may be a system that learns. Whether this means the universe is truly aware is a question we cannot yet answer. But what we do know is that the past is never lost. It is woven into the very fabric of existence, shaping the future in ways we are only beginning to understand. For centuries, humans have believed that reality exists independently of those who observe it. Mountains, stars, and oceans were thought to be there whether or not anyone was watching. But modern physics has revealed something strange. The act of observation itself may shape reality. This idea comes from quantum mechanics, the branch of physics that studies the tiniest building blocks of the universe. One of the most famous discoveries in quantum mechanics is the observer effect. Scientists have found that tiny particles, like electrons, do not seem to have fixed properties until they are observed. Before being measured, an electron exists in a state of possibility, as if it could be in many places at once. But when it is observed, it chooses a definite position. This suggests that observation is not just a passive act, but something that influences how reality unfolds. This raises a deep and unsettling question. If the universe changes when it is observed, does that mean it is aware of being watched? In everyday life, only living things seem to respond to being observed. A cat notices when you look at it. A person may feel self-conscious under the gaze of others, but particles which have no minds or thoughts also seem to behave differently when measured. Could this mean that reality itself has some form of awareness? Some scientists argue that the observer effect does not mean the universe is conscious. Instead, they suggest that measurement forces the universe to make a choice, not because it is thinking, but because that is simply how physics works. Others, however, believe this discovery hints at something more profound. If reality exists in an undefined state until it is observed, then observation might be more than just a way to see the world. It might be what brings the world into being. This leads to an even greater mystery. Is intelligence something that exists only within us, or is it woven into the fabric of the universe itself? Humans think, reason, and reflect. But if the universe reacts to being observed, then perhaps intelligence is not just a product of the human mind. Perhaps it is a fundamental part of existence itself, waiting to be recognized in ways we do not yet understand. If reality responds to observation, then in some sense the universe and the observer are deeply connected. We are not just passive witnesses to the cosmos, we may be participants in shaping it. Whether this means the universe is thinking remains unknown, but one thing is certain: the more we observe, the more the universe seems to reveal that it is far more mysterious than we ever imagined. The human mind is a powerful tool. It allows us to solve problems, ask deep questions, and explore the mysteries of the universe. But despite all our knowledge, we are still limited by the way we think. We see the world through the lens of our own experience, shaped by our senses, our language, and the way our brains process information. This raises an important question. If the universe is thinking, would we even be capable of recognizing it? One of the biggest challenges is how we define thought. For us, thinking is linked to memory, decision-making, and self-awareness. It is something we associate with brains, with electrical signals passing between neurons. But what if intelligence does not require a brain? What if thought can exist in forms we have never encountered? If the universe is processing information, adapting, and evolving, could that be a form of thinking, even if it looks nothing like human thought? Throughout history, there have been many moments when humans failed to recognize intelligence because it did not fit our expectations. People once believed that animals had no real minds, that they were just acting on instinct. But now we know that dolphins, elephants, and even birds can solve problems, communicate, and remember past events. More recently, artificial intelligence has shown that complex problem-solving can happen without emotions or consciousness. These examples remind us that intelligence is not a single thing. It comes in many different forms. If intelligence in the universe is different from what we are used to, we may not have the ability to perceive it. Just as a fish living in a small pond cannot understand the vastness of the ocean, our minds may not be built to grasp the full nature of cosmic intelligence. The universe operates on timescales far beyond human life, with galaxies forming and evolving over billions of years. If the universe is thinking, it may be doing so in a way that unfolds too slowly for us to notice. Some scientists and philosophers suggest that we need to expand our definition of intelligence. Instead of seeing thought as something that only happens in human-like minds, we could think of it as a pattern of information processing that appears at all levels of nature. By doing so, we might begin to see intelligence not as something separate from the universe, but as something woven into its very fabric. Perhaps our greatest limitation is assuming that the universe must think in a way that we understand. If the cosmos has its own kind of intelligence, it may not resemble anything we are familiar with. It may not have emotions, desires, or goals, but that does not mean it is lifeless or without awareness. It may be thinking in ways that exist far beyond our comprehension, waiting for us to expand our minds enough to recognize it. If the universe is truly capable of thinking, even in a way beyond our understanding, it would change everything we believe about existence. For centuries, humans have wondered whether life has meaning, whether the cosmos has a purpose, and whether intelligence is something rare or fundamental to reality. If the universe itself is a form of intelligence, then perhaps we are not separate from it, but part of a vast thinking system. One of the first questions that arises is, what does it mean for the universe to think? If intelligence is not just something that happens inside human brains but is woven into the fabric of reality, then our understanding of consciousness must expand. Thought would no longer be something unique to living beings, but a process that occurs across space and time. The movement of galaxies, the formation of stars, and the evolution of life might not just be random events, they could be expressions of a deeper intelligence at work. This idea could also change how we see our own role in the universe. If intelligence is everywhere, then human thought is not an accident of evolution, but a continuation of a cosmic process. We are not isolated minds in a silent, mechanical universe. We are small parts of something vast and aware. This perspective could reshape how we think about meaning and purpose. Instead of searching for significance outside of ourselves, we might begin to see our existence as a direct expression of the universe's own intelligence. But a deeper question remains: if the universe thinks, does it care? Human intelligence comes with emotions, desires, and a sense of morality. We care about others, feel joy and suffering, and create systems of ethics to guide our actions. If the universe is intelligent, does it have any kind of awareness or concern for the beings within it? Does it guide events toward a purpose, or is its thinking something entirely different from our own? If the universe does not care in a way that we understand, then it may simply be a vast system of thought without emotion or intention. It may think without feeling, process information without desire, and evolve without a goal. But even if that is true, it would not make the universe lifeless or meaningless. It would mean that meaning is something we create, an extension of the intelligence that flows through the cosmos. On the other hand, if the universe does have some form of awareness that includes care, then the implications are even greater. It would suggest that intelligence and meaning are not human inventions, but fundamental aspects of reality itself. It would raise questions about whether there is a purpose to existence and whether the universe in some way is guiding itself toward something greater. Either way, the idea of a thinking universe challenges us to expand our perspective. It forces us to ask what intelligence truly is and whether we are simply discovering a deeper truth about the cosmos. Whether or not the universe thinks as we do, the fact that we can even ask this question may be a sign that intelligence is not just in us, but all around us, waiting to be understood. From the very beginning, humans have looked at the night sky and wondered about their place in the universe. Across centuries, we have used science, philosophy, and imagination to search for answers. We have asked whether the universe is a cold, mechanical structure or something far more profound, something capable of thought. Now, as we reach the end of this journey, one question remains. Can we ever truly know if the universe thinks? Or is the very act of asking this question part of the mystery itself? Through science, we have discovered that the universe follows precise laws as if guided by an unseen order. It creates complexity from simplicity, just as thought emerges from the connections between neurons. It processes information at every level, from the smallest particles to the vast web of galaxies. It reacts to observation, raising the possibility that reality is not just passively existing but responding in some way. Yet despite all these insights, we are still left with uncertainty. Philosophy tells us that intelligence is not always easy to recognize. If the universe does think, it may do so in ways far beyond human comprehension. Just as an ant may never understand the mind of a human, we may be unable to grasp the vast intelligence of the cosmos. Perhaps what we call thought is only one small version of something much greater, something we do not yet have the words or concepts to define. But maybe that is the real beauty of this question. Whether or not the universe thinks, the fact that we are able to wonder about it connects us to something larger than ourselves. The search for meaning is not just about finding answers, it is about opening our minds to the endless possibilities that existence holds. So does the universe think? Perhaps it does, but not in the way we expect. Perhaps intelligence is not something separate from the cosmos, but something woven into its very essence. Or maybe the universe is not thinking at all, and yet through us, it has found a way to reflect upon itself. In the end, this question is not just about the universe. It is about us. The mystery remains not as a problem to be solved, but as an invitation to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep imagining new possibilities. Because in every question we ask, in every discovery we make, and in every new idea that emerges, the universe is thinking through us. And that may be the greatest mystery of all.